You're listening to the Catholic Wives with Toxic In-Laws podcast. Today's episode is titled, If They Wanted to, They Would. Are you a Catholic wife grappling with challenging in-laws? The Catholic Wives with Toxic In-Laws podcast is your sanctuary for navigating the sometimes stormy seas of life with toxic in-laws while being validated for what you've experienced. Join me, your host, Miriam Susan, a Catholic wife who's weathered 3 decades of in-law drama, as we tackle the tough issues you're dealing with head on. Hi, I'm Miriam Susan, and welcome to this week's episode of the Catholic Wives with Toxic In-Laws podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that sometimes is hard to just kind of wrap your brain around, and that is the topic of if they wanted to, they would. Now, this came to mind because I am a big fan of Mel Robbins. I love her very practical approach to things, and she recently wrote a book called The Let Them Theory, and this is basically the crux of what her book is all about. That the Let Them Theory is about letting people feel however they're going to feel, think however they're going to think, do the things that they're going to do, and just let them. Because if they wanted to do something, they would do it. So we're going to dive deeper into that, but let me go ahead and read the scripture reference for today's episode. It comes from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 26, and this is from the New Revised Standard Version Catholic Edition, and it says, "A new heart I will give you, and a new spirit I will put within you, and I will remove from your body the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh." So let me begin with a scenario that is fictional, but is probably very, very relatable. Let's say that you have planned for Thanksgiving to be at your house this year, and you have specifically asked your mother-in-law 3 times, not once, not twice, but 3 times, to not bring her famous green bean casserole because your daughter is allergic to mushrooms. But she shows up anyway, and guess what she's got in her hands? She's got that green bean casserole right in her hands to serve to everybody at the dinner. And she acts surprised when you say that your daughter is allergic. And she might say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot, but I'm sure a little bit won't hurt her." So how many times have you made excuses for behavior like this? You might think, well, maybe she's just forgetful. And sometimes that can be the case, right? Especially if we're dealing with older in-laws who are at that age where their memory seems to be failing, we can play that off. Or maybe we say, well, she didn't mean it. Or maybe your husband says, well, she didn't mean it. And maybe you think to yourself, well, maybe I didn't communicate that clear enough. Maybe I wasn't absolutely, positively clear, do not bring green bean casserole, because sometimes we do not speak clearly like we should. Maybe we do leave things kind of up in the air because we don't want to step on toes, and so we're not super direct when we say things. But those can often be just excuses. What if the truth is both simpler and harder to accept than we actually think? So there's a reality check that we need to consider, and that is this theory from Mel Robbins' Let Them Theory book. If they wanted to, they would. And when we break it down, people show you who they are through their actions, not their words, and not however we hope that they will be. And the uncomfortable truth is that if your in-laws really wanted to respect your boundaries, they would. If they wanted to include you in a genuine way in family texts, in family events, they would. They would make sure that you were invited. If they wanted to treat you as an equal part of the family, they would. They would treat you as an equal. And if they wanted to support your marriage, they would do that too. They would do it. So what we end up doing as Catholic wives is we end up bending over backwards to try to make things work. But this involves usually changed plans to accommodate your in-laws, changing your plans to accommodate their needs, wants, desires, mostly probably wants and desires. We have swallowed hurtful comments from our in-laws. We have given them one more chance over and over and over again. And we have tried to explain our feelings carefully and with kindness and gentleness, but nothing changes because our in-laws don't want to change. And this isn't about being incapable. It's that they're not willing. And this is something that I wrestled with for a long time, thinking that maybe my mother-in-law just can't help herself. Maybe she's just, maybe this is just how she is. Well, I mean, it is how she is. But I thought that maybe when they were stalking us, when things were getting really intense, I actually thought maybe she just can't help it. Maybe it's almost like an addict where, she can't help it, where it's just impossible for her to stop stalking us, which I know sounds absolutely insane. But guess what? When there were criminal consequences, when it was jail time, felony stalking charges, massive fines, all of a sudden, the email stopped, the voicemail stopped, all of that stopped. So it wasn't that she just couldn't help it, that she wasn't capable of stopping. It's that she was not willing to honor our boundaries and respect us as independent and autonomous people. So why is this just so hard for us to accept? Well, it feels very heavy for us as Catholic wives, specifically because we are taught to be peacemakers. We are taught to turn the other cheek, to love difficult people, to forgive and forget, even though that's not scriptural. And I think somewhere in all of us, we all want to believe in the best in people, especially our family members. I mean, if we love our husbands, it makes sense that we would think that there is some goodness, some good part of his family of origin, even if they're not demonstrating it to us. And then we feel guilty for giving up on this relationship or seeming like we're giving up on this relationship because we've just kind of had enough. So there's this internal objection that you might be feeling. It's like, well, what if I haven't tried hard enough? What if I'm being uncharitable? What if there's something else that I can do to repair this relationship, to make my in-laws like me, to make them love me? But here's something that we have to accept. You are not responsible for changing other people. Only God can give somebody a new heart, like I said in the scripture from Ezekiel. The difference between hope and denial is when hope says that I pray they'll change and I'll respond with grace when they do. But when we're in denial, we keep telling ourselves, if I just keep trying harder, they'll finally see me and change. They'll finally accept me as their daughter-in-law. They'll finally accept me as their son's wife. They'll finally accept me as a human being, but it just never happens. So one of these protects your peace, and that's hope. But the other destroys it, and that's denial. So what is acceptance of this idea that our in-laws, if they wanted to change, they would? So what does that actually mean? So let me just clarify something that I'm absolutely not saying. I'm not saying that you have to approve of their behavior or that you have to let them keep hurting you. Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. What accepting your in-laws and who they are means seeing clearly who they are based on their actions, based on their consistent actions, based on their patterns of actions, not who we wish they were. And that's really hard because I don't think any of us go into marriage thinking that we're going to have nightmare in-laws. I don't think we do. I think if you are listening to this podcast, it is because you do have this hope that things will get better, but sometimes that hope turns into denial because we put it all on us for them to change, and that's silly because we can't love somebody into changing. So there is freedom in accepting our in-laws for who they are because you stop waiting for them to become different people. You stop making excuses for any behavior that they do that hurts you. You stop putting your emotional energy into a battle that you are never going to win. And you can start making decisions based on the reality of your relationship, not this fantasy, soft focus, picture, painting that you have or you've held on to of what you thought your extended family relationships were going to look like. And this is super important as we head into the holidays, because we cannot expect this Christmas to be different just because it's Christmas. To toxic people, December 25th, Thanksgiving, any of these holidays, it's just another opportunity for them to stir up some chaos, stir up some drama. And they don't see Christmas in the same way you do. They tend to seem to see Christmas as an opportunity to pull on our heartstrings, to manipulate us, to guilt us into doing whatever they want. And just kind of ignoring any desires, wishes that we have for ourselves and for our family. And we can't expect them to suddenly respect our wishes about our children just because it's family time, just because all the rest of the family is in town. No, in fact, they tend to push more because the extended family will be around, especially if your in-laws are those that have to have this air of being the most amazing grandparents. So then it feels like it gets a whole lot worse. And the pattern of the behavior that you have seen in the past is the best predictor of future behavior. So you get to decide what to do with this information. Maybe it means limiting contact. Sometimes that is the best way to show love to your in-laws, is to put some distance between you and them so that you have just time to heal, to breathe, to think straight without that influence coming in and affecting you. It might mean that you attend family gatherings, but you and your husband set clear expectations for yourselves, not with your in-laws, about what you're willing to tolerate and when is the time to go. It's super important to have that line in the sand, especially if things have been volatile over last year's Christmas, volatile over the last time y'all got together. Maybe it was over the summer for 4th of July. Maybe it was a big family reunion. Whatever it is, you need to have that line in the sand decided ahead of time so that when you go into these family gatherings, you're on the same page. And if something happens, you both are walking out with the kids and leaving the gathering. And maybe it also means stopping that mental gymnastics of trying to figure out how to win people over that you can't win over. Usually with toxic people, they keep moving the goalpost. So you think you get to a certain point. Oh, no, you have to go a little bit further. Oh, no, you got to do a little bit more. Like spending time with the children. Oh, just seeing them for a couple hours is not good enough. Now they have to, spend all day. And oh, that's not good enough. So now they need to spend the night. And oh, that's not good enough. Now they need to spend the whole weekend. And oh, no, the weekend's just not long enough. And so now we need to go on vacation together. And oh, you can stay home and we'll take care of the kids ourselves. And I actually saw a really interesting reel this past week, and I'm going to have to do an episode about that, about unsupervised time with children. But anyway, back to our topic. If your in-laws really wanted to change, they would. They would do it. This isn't about you being mean. It's not about you being bitter. It's not about you not forbearing. It's not about you being unforgiving. It's about being honest with yourself, with your husband, with your children about what is actually going on. God gave us wisdom and discernment for a reason. We are allowed to use it. I know it gets hard. I know it gets kind of foggy when it comes to in-laws. It's like you're wearing glasses and you haven't cleaned them, like my son hasn't cleaned them in hours, and you look through it and things aren't quite clear, and then you can clean them off and you see clearly. That's what wisdom and discernment is like. We can just clear off our glasses and try to see things clearly because that's why God gave them to us. And then I want you to think about, what kind of behavior have you been making excuses for? What would you change if you just simply accepted that your in-laws are who they are? That maybe your father-in-law is a drunk. What if you just accepted that he is and stop feeling like you have to go into all these gatherings hoping that he's going to stay sober when he never has before? Or what if you go into these holidays and just expect that your mother-in-law is going to have foods that your kids are allergic to? What would you do differently? Maybe bring some snacks, maybe eat beforehand so that you don't have to, worry about what you're feeding the kids. You'd have to, of course, keep an eagle eye on them because they might try to, sneak a little bit to your kids. I've heard of that happening before. But just really think about what would you change if you just accepted that your in-laws are who they are and they're not any different just because you hope that they are. So this doesn't mean that you're powerless. It means that your power lies in what you do. It does not lie in changing them. And it never has. It never has. I want to encourage you and let you know that you are not alone in this struggle, that it's okay to feel the weight of this reality, that this family that you married into is not the family that you thought maybe that you were marrying into, or that you hoped that they would be. It's okay to wrestle with that and to be sad and to grieve that, but it's important to clean off your glasses, see clearly, and understand what you're dealing with, and see your in-laws for who they are. And if you feel alone in all of this, I want to encourage you to come and join me in my community for Catholic wives with toxic in-laws. It is on the school platform. You can go to toxicinlaws.com, no dashes, no nothing. Toxicinlaws.com will take you right there and just learn from other women who are going through the exact same thing you're going through. Feel a sense of validation because you are not alone. And you can join now absolutely free. I have decided to make the community part absolutely free. There are opportunities to upgrade if you want some of my paid trainings that will happen every month. This month we're talking about going into the holidays and how to handle that gracefully, how to handle it realistically when you have a tough relationship with your in-laws. So if you would like some support as we go into this holiday season, I encourage you, go to toxicinlaws.com, join the community for free, choose an upgrade if you want. You don't have to, but I would love to see you in there. God bless you. Go in peace.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. But before you go, I want you to know something. If you're feeling exhausted after every family visit, questioning whether you're overreacting, or if you're replaying conversations you had with your in-laws for days afterward, you're not crazy, and you're definitely not alone. I've created a free guide called 5 Signs You're Not Too Sensitive, what your gut is really telling you, that will help you to understand why these interactions feel so hard and give you some gentle scripts to use in those moments when you're caught off guard by your in-laws. You can grab a copy at desiringpeace.com/signs. That's desiringpeace.com/SIGNS. You're not asking for too much when you ask to be treated with respect. I'll talk to you next week. Disclaimer. All content and information on this podcast and our website, including our programs, products, and/or services, is for information and educational purposes only and does not constitute professional medical, psychiatric, or mental health advice of any kind, and does not establish any kind of professional client relationship by your listening to this podcast or use of my website. A professional client relationship with you is only formed after we have expressly entered into a written agreement with you that you have signed, including our fee structure and other terms to work with you in a specific matter. Although we strive to provide accurate general information, the information presented here is not a substitute for any kind of professional advice, and you should not rely solely on this information. Always consult a professional in the area for your particular needs and circumstances prior to making any professional, medical, or mental health related decisions.